I want to depart, but a ripple and a circle are chasing me. Take a ripple out of this, as circle has already initiated the game. Going back to today's doubleheader, I had to make this. I want to make a few more videos, but this one had to be released immediately. We will now play a clip featuring Caroline Hill, who currently serves as Circle's Senior Director of Global Policy and Regulatory Strategy. Before this, she spent 7 years working for the U.S. Department of Treasury. Financial crimes and the financing of terrorism. She is therefore fully aware of the subject matter she is discussing, as well as the implications and motivations behind pipeline developments. We're going to talk about what they're saying when they say it, which is in a moment. Clip, but before that, there was so much information that I had to fit it in. You all recall the trust bridges and money flows that the IMF released in March of this year, and you are all aware of the public video that I have kept and have played for you numerous times. Incorporating it into more documents and citing you for what he's genuinely saying, possibly quickly and widely. Now, everything makes perfect sense. Adoption of a worldwide stablecoin, either a worldwide currency controlled solely by incentives or a private corporation controlled solely by incentives, a private business, is something that merits and will be subject to the highest standards of regulation. And all the pieces of the puzzle are fitting together perfectly right now, and what they're doing behind the scenes makes perfect sense. The document is attached. A regulated private company with significant benefits, including resolving the coordination issue surrounding the centralization of participation and liquidity provision, providing transparent and reliable governance, operational stability, and complete compliance with financial integrity standards. It also specifies whether the central bank or other entity issuing the tokenized money is already subject to stringent regulations. The writing is on the wall, you guys, and Ripple check all the boxes as trust costs continue to decline. If you guys truly get this now, that is. I'm confident that this will take off, and I'll be sharing some movies with you soon that include USDX, XRP, or whatever we decide to name the stablecoin on Ripple. This is huge. In my opinion, this is one of the most memorable announcements in Ripple's history. I'll explain why in my upcoming podcast, but first, let's discuss why Tether is collapsing. As you may know, I've been talking about how sketchy Tether is. We'll talk about that today, but today everything made perfect sense, and I also found this tweet from Ali. About to destroy Tether, Ripple. He continues, saying that Tether will implode due to Ripple's unreleased stablecoin backed by the US dollar, and he's not crazy. The reason he gives for this is that a third-party accounting company will be auditing the reserve assets, as stated by Circle's policy directors. Ripple continued to say this today. Supported by a 1:1 cash reserve spiral, a stablecoin is intended to guarantee dependability and transparency. Once it is available, Ripple will release monthly attestations of the assets, as well as what's very, very unclear. This was before its creation. As you are aware, Tether recently began to be transparent. Nevertheless, 2 days ago, things got much more shadowy. You did indeed hear that. The completion of Tether was 2 days ago. Their initial examination of the SO2 type. This resembles a very high-level audit, but it's being carried out in 2024. In addition to the fact that Tether only completed this 2 days ago and that Caroline Hill is expressing this regarding tethering some of the Circle policy directors want, Ripple has been compliant under CO2 since 2021. Tether researched. Those businesses you just stated have our touch points, and I believe the U.S. government needs to make sure it's utilizing its power when there are those the Treasury's touch points. Seems to lack the necessary authority. It sent many proposals to Congress around the end of last year, as far as I know, about extending their jurisdiction, to include some of those actions. In my opinion, no business should be able to use the US dollar as a reference without first incorporating those democratic values into the business and returning the US dollar to a stable currency. Accordingly, if Treasury feels that it requires extra authority to do so, this committee ought to consider that for those touch points. U.S. financial services company Fitzgerald allegedly oversees Tether's $72 billion Treasury bond portfolio, providing him with access to U.S. dollars. Ms. Hill, considering Tether's connection to the U.S. financial system through Cantor Fitzgerald's handling of Treasury, you should find Kerr's support of terrorism and illegal activities worldwide unacceptable. Possess the power to act, and what ought to be done regarding American regulated businesses such as Cantor. It seems to me that the Treasury, given this usable touch, the department would be able to take action. Yes, and I hope that they're taking this seriously, considering Tether's reputation and the evidence that they're funding terrorism and other bad acts, that the U.S. government needs to pursue these platforms with all of its available means. Numerous recent enforcement actions and initiatives in the cryptocurrency anti-money laundering arena are encouraging signs. There should be accountability, after which there will be no way for Tether to survive. That person was from Circle as well. Directors of policy, they were all present, although I can't remember his name, and that was it for this year. Circle claims to not be transparent while targeting Tether, yet I'm very convinced that everyone is aware that Tether isn't being truthful. Tether misused fictitious bank accounts. Give me a break, it was only last year. People watch, and in 2021 Tether asked the court to prevent the release of some papers, and in 2019 Tether announced that it would be the subject of an investigation. You are aware of the cause of that. Billion-in-an-hour crash in the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem, and they were forced to make the payment they did. The wrongdoings, they were forced to pay fines totaling $18 million, and guess what else they had to pay? An additional $42.5 million in penalties, which occurred in October. Of fines are imposed left and right in 2021, and phony bank accounts are opened from the start using forged documentation. I've mentioned that Tether is an issue, and I realize that it's a really, I'm not sure how to put it, Tether. The ecosystem will not benefit from collapse. But given what's ahead, I don't think Tether will endure for another 10 years. When it comes to pipelines with regulatory certainty and what Circle and Ripple are building, Tether might just disappear, but if it's highly corrupted, it might stick around because, if Tyler is fully involved, we already know how corrupt they are and how far they have come. It might stick around for a few years, and for any individual, the Abema update that I posted on YouTube did have a significant spike today, reaching as high as 600%. Due to my inability to produce a video in time. Don't be greedy, but make a profit. Monetary guidance, I'm not sure how much higher. This is bound to happen, but having said that, everyone ought to win. Concluding remarks. Gents and ladies, let me give you a brief overview. Caroline Hill told me that was the year. Only a few months prior, discussing the necessity for Tether research. Are going to experience a storm, and believe me, I don't want it to occur. I don't want to travel to the collapse because it will be disastrous. I mean, XRP could drop to 20 cents for everything. If Tether crashes, 10 cents will drop, bringing Bitcoin down between $30,000 and $29,000. God knows, but you all know that if it crashes, it won't be good for the market or any of the original cryptocurrency investors. All it will be is another wave. We'll eventually recover, it's just going to be another hiccup. To our previous location, but remember this, the ecosystem as a whole is so young. Examine it from that angle, let's just exercise caution and state it is 12 years old. 12 years, people, it's a baby. The stock market has existed for longer than any of us have, since the beginning of time. Things are still in their early stages, like a baby 20 years from now, since the stock market debut. 30 years from now. Do you have any idea how enormous this entire ecosystem will get in 40 years? Having said that, I do appreciate every one of you. The IMF informed us that the writing is on the wall. According to Jerome Powell, everyone is telling us that those with well-developed brain cells will comprehend.